Did you know that simply not having a written plan for choosing your next tenant could cost you thousands in fines and legal battles? In California, the rules are strict. If you're a landlord and you're ignoring this one crucial step before you even advertise your property, well, it's like building a house without blueprints. So today I'm revealing the invisible risk most self-managing landlords miss. Hey, I'm Jeremy Higgins. I'm with True Haven Property Management. We service Davis, Woodland, Sacramento, Eastern Solano County. And today I want to talk about the critical first step in the tenant screening process, one that many self-managing landlords unfortunately overlook. It sometimes leads to lost money and big, huge headaches. We don't want those. So that step is setting your compliant tenant screening criteria before you even advertise your property. So why is doing this so critical here in California? Well, there are pretty major reasons. First, let's talk about the application screening fees. New rules emphasize that landlords should generally have their screening process and their criteria established before collecting that fee. If you don't have that clear predefined criteria and you end up not processing an application fairly or consistently because you're kind of making up rules as you go, well, you could very well be required to refund that application fee. So having written standards, those are what really protect you. Second, even more importantly, is fair housing compliance. California has strict laws preventing discrimination. And if you don't have objective written criteria that you apply identically to every single applicant, well, how can you defend yourself if someone claims you denied them based on a protected characteristic? So having those standards predefined and written down before you receive applications is your strongest defense against potential discrimination lawsuits. I know from talking with many owners out there that one of the biggest challenges is simply not knowing what criteria to set. Landlords, in some cases, they just skip checking the credit or the background altogether because they don't want to mess with it. Or they might not know how to interpret that information fairly or consistently without really running afoul of the law. And that's perfectly understandable. It's pretty complex. But the lack of knowledge makes having written criteria even more vital as your guideposts. So what should these written criteria cover? Well, think about defining your minimum acceptable standards for income. What's your required income to rent ratio going to be? Is it going to be 2.5 times the rent? 3 times the rent? What's your verifiable proof that you're going to accept? Are you going to require pay stubs and bank statements? Those can be good. And how will you fairly assess applicants with non-employment income like vouchers or benefits? So let's talk credit history. Will you use a minimum score or are you going to review the whole report? What specific items are relevant to you? Rent history, utilities, medical debt. Define a reasonable non-discriminatory standard. And then there's rental history. Are you going to require positive references from landlords or are you not going to call them at all? What specific history would disqualify to you? Documented lease violations, evictions within a certain number of years. And then there's occupancy limits. Set reasonable limits based on local code and ensure they don't unfairly exclude families and children. That's important. And there's criminal history. If you consider this, tread very, very carefully here. California law and fair housing guidance require individualized assessments based on convictions, not arrests. And they must be relevant to the safety of the property or considering the nature, severity, and the time that's passed. So blanket bans, they're prohibited. And this is a very complex area, so definitely consult legal counsel on that. Decide the standards, write them down, and then apply them consistently to every single applicant. No exceptions based on your gut feelings. So taking the time to do this before you list your property might feel like an extra work up front, but it does protect you from having to refund these fees, significantly reduces your risk of facing costly discrimination lawsuits, and ultimately helps you select qualified tenants more efficiently and fairly. Our free essential guide to rental property success in California provides much more detail on the fair housing laws. It walks you through the different criteria areas based on guidance that from the Department of Real Estate as well as a bunch of other publications. So think of it as your resource to help you build that essential written policy. And don't wait until the applications start rolling in. Set your compliant criteria right now. Protect yourself and protect your investment. You can download this guide using the link description below. We've also created a screening checklist that you can go and grab from the other link below. Both of them are also on our website, truehavenpm.com. I'm Jeremy Higgins with True Haven. I hope this clarification was helpful, and I'll see you the next time.